The Nintendo 3DS is one of my favorite handheld consoles of all time, but why have I decided in 2022 to start buying more games? Let's talk about it. Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Talks Media. Today we're going to be doing a more general topic talking about why I am buying Nintendo 3DS games in the year 2022. So I've seen a couple people doing these videos, and I always see these recommended. It's like why I'm buying PS3 games in 2022, that kind of thing. My friend Ty recently did a video on why he bought a new 3DS XL in 2022, so go check out his video on that. Didn't copy it, Ty, sorry. I had this one in the planning for a while. I thought now was the time to do it though. More so to get more people caught up, new viewers caught up on why 3DS is kind of the console to buy or get into in 2022. So for me personally, like why I'm collecting, it really boils down to nostalgia. I grew up with the 3DS. I'm 21 right now at the time of filming, so pretty much my entire teen years, from the 3DS came out in 2011, I was 10 when it came out. Basically through my entire teen years, my adolescence, the 3DS was my baby, you know, and then the Switch came out in 2017, but at that point, you know, I was already older. So the 3DS is really the thing I'm nostalgic for. I mean, yes, I grew up with the Wii. I grew up with the DS. I had an N64. I had a GameCube. Those are all my siblings, but I would still play them, you know. PS2, PS3, 360. I had all that stuff. But for me, like my first console that I really felt like was my own, that I really like got on release day, you know, or it was like the week after, was the 3DS. So I have a lot of nostalgia for the 3DS. The issue was I always dreamed of having a nice collection of games. You know, I would always watch like Captain Nintendo Dude or whatever on YouTube and be like, damn, that's a really nice collection. I wish I could do that one day. I was a kid. I would trade my games to GameStop for more games, and I couldn't afford to keep a collection when I was younger because I was a child. So in that, I pretty much had no physical 3DS games until about like a year and a half ago. Most of my 3DS games were digital. At a certain point, I was like, okay, if I can't get new game, or if I can't keep them, I would rather to get them digitally, because that way I can't regret it, you know. I can't sell a Pokemon game on 3DS and then regret it, which I have done before, you know, because I would get so, you know, I'd get caught up in the moment of the hype of a new game or something and be like, all right, I'm selling Kid Icarus Uprising to get the new Call of Duty or something, you know, that kind of thing. So eventually I started getting the digital games, and that was how I kept playing them. But now that I'm an adult with a disposable income, I have finally been rebuying most of my favorite 3DS games. I think I'm still missing a couple things, but for the most part, over the past few months, I've really kind of hammered down the main games I wanted to get. I've got all my Pokemon games. I've got most of the Mario games. There are a few standouts, especially JRPGs. I'm still missing a ton of Shin Megami Tensei stuff and Atlas stuff as a broader company there. But for the most part, from the first party Nintendo spectrum, I can't really think of any just crazy omissions from my collection right now, especially like expensive ones. I am thinking about it. I don't think I have New Super Mario Bros. 2. That's a random one, but I don't think I have that game right now, so I need to get that. That one's cheap. But yeah. So that kind of boils it down. I am super nostalgic for it. That's why I'm buying 3DS games in 2022. But the thing that sparked all this, for those that are not in the loop, was the Eshop closure. So in February of 2022, Nintendo announced that in March of 2023, you will no longer be able to buy games on the 3DS and Wii U Eshop anymore. Which means immediately, I remember, because I made a video on it the night they announced it, I was like, oh snap, this is it. This is it, guys. I immediately was like freaking out. I was talking to my friends. I was like, all right, the prices of these games are about to go wild. And lo and behold, they have, especially for some of the games that were already kind of up there, they've skyrocketed. I've grabbed a couple of games here that are just kind of random. Just games that I think are standout. I mean, this is one of the most notable ones. I actually have not really played the series too much, but I got it for a good deal. Well, I traded a friend for it, but you know the story if you've been watching my channel. Yokai Watch 3. This game is absolutely bonkers in price. Same thing with Yokai Watch 2 Psychic Spectre. Same thing with Yokai Watch Blasters. I want these games. Here's the thing, another thing. I know people always comment on these videos, wait until this guy finds out about homebrew. Wait until this guy realizes he can just get all the games for free. That's not the point. The point is having a physical item that is cool to look at and hold and you play, you know. I have no issue with homebrew and modding and stuff. My 3DSs are modded. I like having the physical collection. I'm not on some moral high ground where it's like, oh, you have to support Nintendo. You should do that. You should support indie devs. You should support companies for their work, in my opinion. However, if you're going to mod and stuff, that's fine. I've done it in the past. You know, it's fine. for me, it comes down to I like owning it. I like feeling like I own this piece of Nintendo history, even though this is a weird example, I guess, but it also just looks really good on a shelf, man. I like having a nice shelf of items. I guess I'm very materialistic, you know, but I think it looks nice. So that's why I'm buying physical 3DS games. And let's talk about prices. So, like I said, some of these have already gone up in price like crazy. This one is a good example. The Mario and Luigi games, these have been going up in price a lot. The 3DS has a very unique library, and that I don't think most of them will ever come to other platforms. There are some examples, you know, the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D, that's going to come over eventually, or I guess we already have the regular versions on Switch. Pretty much any Zelda game's going to come over. Kid Icarus Uprising, I think, is likely. I just did a video on ports recently that I think are likely or should happen for the Switch, so go check out that. You know, Kid Icarus, Tomodachi Life, there are games that I think will come over, or at least have a new updated version on the Switch, so some of those aren't I'm not as concerned about those, even though I have them, of course, on 3DS. But I'm looking at my shelf right now, and the 3DS has a very unique library of games that I don't think is really going to get ported. And another thing about the 3DS, although I haven't really been delving that much into it, it plays DS games. It really is the ultimate Nintendo handheld. Until they somehow get 3DS and DS games running on the Switch, nothing's going to beat 3DS and DS because it can play everything before it. Even if you know, like, once again, mod your 3DS, or if you were a 3DS ambassador, you have those GBA games, you have Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. So in terms of Nintendo handheld gaming, the 3DS is peak, in my opinion. The Switch could be there eventually if they get GBA games and all that, but the 3DS just has such a versatile library with a fantastic back catalog of other consoles that you can play on it that, in my opinion, it is probably Nintendo's best handheld, especially easily if you don't count the Switch as a handheld. If you count the Switch as a home console, it's not even close. The 3DS, by bar none, has the best versatility in terms of what it can play. But even for me personally, I think it has by far the best library of any Nintendo handheld. Just 3DS. I know a lot of people seem to think that the DS has a really great library. I mean, it does. The 3DS has actual, like, console games on it. You know, Kid Icarus Uprising, Super Mario 3D Land. Mario Kart 7 is one of my favorite Mario Kart games, if not my favorite Mario Kart. So that's more nostalgia. I think Mario Kart 8 is a better game, but games that are never going to get ported. I mean, 3D Land probably will get ported eventually, right? Someday. But stuff like this, dude, I don't think Mario and Luigi will ever come to Switch. Maybe in 10 years we get a collection on another Nintendo console. But I don't think that game is ever going to come over. So that's kind of, the 3DS is kind of its home now. It's never going to leave there. There's a good chance Kid Icarus Uprising never leaves the 3DS. Kirby had a great life on 3DS. Fire Emblem, I think I have this here. Fire Emblem. This is my favorite 3DS game right here. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Once again, eventually some of the Fire Emblem 3DS games could come over. I don't think this one specifically would. If anything, it'd be Awakening or Fates. So Fire Emblem was great on the 3DS. I'm just literally looking at my shelf. Luigi's Mansion had a not great remake, and then Dark Moon's pretty good. Of course, Zelda, Hey Pikmin. Every Nintendo franchise had something. WarioWare Gold, Rhythm Heaven, Mega Mix, more niche stuff. I mean, we got ports of Captain Toad and Yoshi's Woolly World. Pretty much every Mario sports game got represented except for, well, half the Mario sports games got represented with Mario Tennis Open and Mario Golf World Tour, and then we had the Mario and Sonic games and Mario Sports Superstars, which we don't talk about that one. And then, of course, Pokemon is my favorite franchise. Shout out, Arceus, Game of the Year. Pokemon on the 3DS I know is a little bit controversial. I think it's damn good. Gen 6 is really good. I like Gen 6 more than Gen 7. You know, X and Y I like more than Sun and Moon. They're all great. They're all great games. Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire I do think is a standout, but once again, I mean, Pokemon, yes, eventually we will get remakes of X and Y. We will get remakes of Sun and Moon, you know, in 10, 15 years. That's not the same game. Pokemon works very differently than most games. They are not going to port Sun and Moon to the Switch 2 or whatever. They will remake it with a new story or something. Unless Diamond and Pearl, you know, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl really got them set on their ways, which I hope not. So I just think the 3DS has an absolutely god-tier library that a lot of people, you know, I have a lot of people on Twitter that are like, man, 3DS, you know, it's great, but like, what are you doing with all this? And it's like, I think it's really underrated. I think that's what this boils down to. The 3DS is so underrated. It has so many games. If you just go to Google, type in a list of even just Nintendo published 3DS games, you will be blown away by the amount of variety and just amount of franchises represented on this one console. It's honestly pretty staggering. I mean, I think the Switch, they've been doing a better job. The Switch is also going to last longer, and they didn't have to focus on 2 consoles at once. So yes, the Switch probably will outdo the 3DS in my like overall like library ranking eventually. It might already be better, but like you look at the 3DS versus the DS, it's not even close, dude. The 3DS has pretty much every main Nintendo franchise represented. I mean, yeah, there's some omissions. There's not like a proper Star Fox game. Of course, you have Star Fox 64 3D. There's no F-Zero game, but who cares? There's no Wave Race. Who cares? I'm trying to think of like more notable, bigger games. I was always surprised they never made a Splatoon game for 3DS. That would have been funny, like a little rhythm spin-off or something. And then there's also just a lot of fun, wacky stuff that I never really got into when the 3DS was the current console. This is a game I picked up over the past couple of months, Minecraft New 3DS Edition. I just think it's so wacky. It's so funny to think that this game is on 3DS. I haven't played it yet. I'm really excited to, because it's just a crunchy-ass port. Who wants this? It's so funny. Ty, my friend Ty, once again, shout out, did a video on Terraria on 3DS. That's also just kind of, you know, it's weird ports like that. I mean, there's a physical copy of Shovel Knight, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Great little system for indie games, I would say. SteamWorld Dig was on there, Mutant Mudds. I have the Atui collection. If you don't know, the little Botox Media fact here, the intro or outro song I play at the end of all my videos is from Mutant Mudds, which I played first on 3DS because it was one of the first eShop games on 3DS. So the 3DS has a very special place in my heart, and of course, through making all these videos, I have really gotten into the collecting aspect, as more than just, you know, maybe more so than me maybe just buying the games I really wanted to play. There are fun games to collect. I mean, looking around here, I mean, this is a game I was always interested in, but had it not all blown up over the past couple of months, I probably would have never honestly gotten around to it. And I still need to get around to it, to be fair, but, you know, Ever Oasis, this is another one. Late life 3DS game, probably never coming to anything else. And from what I've heard, it's a super underrated hidden gem. So I'm excited to play that. But even talking about more collector stuff, I mean, I actually have an unboxing about this, I think, probably yesterday when you're watching this, when this goes live. Fragrance Story. This is such a cool little collector's item. I don't need it. I've talked about Fragrance Story to death. I have plenty of videos about the game on my channel, so go check those out. Just a cool collector's item. And then also, this just came in the mail today when I'm recording this, Andro Dunos 2. This is actually the last physical 3DS game, at least currently announced. Do I actually care that much about these games? No. Are they cool collector's items? Absolutely. Especially Fragrance Story really hit it out of the park with the collector's edition and everything. So, and then Andro Dunos 2 is actually, I mean, okay, here's the thing. I did a review of Fragrance Story. It's a very short game. It's like, it's basically a little demo. It's like a prologue for what could have been, and then I think they're going to update more. Andro Dunos 2, shout out to the publisher. They sent me a code for the Switch version when I did the video talking about this about a month ago. I played the Switch version. It's honestly a really competent shmup. I'm not sure how the 3DS version fares, but seeing just a cool physical 3DS game in 2022 is so cool to me. Of course, they even had like the numbers on there, 3592 out of 6,000. That's sick to me. These two are sealed. I'm probably going to open Andro Dunos 2 because I do want to do another video on the 3DS version specifically, so I want to do that. And then last game I grabbed here to show, once again, just another random game that is kind of indicative of how great the 3DS's library is. I'm currently playing through this finally after skipping it for so many years. Metroid Samus Returns. And here's the thing, right? This is a very late life 3DS game. It came out in 2017 after the Nintendo Switch was out. Here's the thing with 3DS. Same thing with this, actually, by the way. By the way, worth noting. Here's the thing. The 3DS's library was always great. It was great in 2015. It was great in 2016. There are a shocking amount of really good 3DS games that came out after the Switch. And by that point, everybody had given up, which is why a lot of them are going up in value. A lot of those later life 3DS games did not get many printings because by that point, no one cared in the moment. You know, in the moment, I didn't care. I wasn't playing 3DS in 2017 that much, or in 2018. I played, you know, Echoes. I played WarioWare Gold, best WarioWare game right there. Then you have stuff like, well, hey, Pikmin's not great, but Yokai Watch 3 is apparently the best one in the series. Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn is really cool. Luigi's Mansion. We even had like Fire Emblem Warriors. That one's a little bit more tacky, but it's still cool, right? So there's a lot of games. Ever Oasis, another one. There's a lot of games that came out after the Switch that most people just didn't play because they were like, okay, 3DS is done, and that's kind of sad. So that bringing it all back, obviously, yes, the nostalgia and my love for the console is the main reason. That is part of it that really got me back into it, though, is just how much I had missed over those that 2 or 3 year period where they were pumping out releases, and I got a couple of them. You know, I played this when it came out, Fire Emblem Echoes, favorite 3DS game. But you know, I missed Wario Gold initially. I missed the Luigi's Mansion remake initially. I missed Yokai Watch 3. I missed every Yokai Watch game for that matter. There was a lot of stuff I missed on the 3DS. So going back and playing them has been a ton of fun. And once I get my 3DS capture card in a few months here, hopefully, I'm gonna start really digging through those, maybe stream them some. So that is why I am buying 3DS games in 2022. Yes, I'm a collector. That's it. I want to get them all before the value skyrockets even more next year before the eShop closes. But at the end of the day, the 3DS is one of my favorite consoles of all time. I think it's Nintendo's best handheld. It has a fantastic library, and if you were out of the loop on all this, I highly implore you to just go, like I said, look up list of Nintendo published 3DS games, and it is staggering how much good stuff there is. And even outside of Nintendo, like I said, with all the indie games, I didn't really mention Atlas in this. The 3DS has a ton of great JRPGs. Mostly Shin Megami Tensei, but the stuff like Stella Glow and Etrian Odyssey, and of course Dragon Quest 7 and 8, and then what's the other one? Persona Q. I know people like. I'm not a Persona guy, but there's so much variety in the 3DS. If you like JRPGs, that's definitely going to be your bread and butter. But then in terms of Nintendo itself, they had a ton of variety. So just kind of a video rambling about why I'm buying 3DS games in 2022. Let me know what you think. Why are you buying 3DS games in 2022? Are you mostly doing it for your collection? Were you there? Like I said, for me, it's mostly nostalgia and my love of the console. My question to you guys is, if you're getting into 3DS collecting now, were you in the same boat? Did you play the 3DS a ton? Like, I don't know exactly how old my viewer base is. Maybe you're a little bit older than me. I think it skews a little bit older. Are you nostalgic for it, basically, is what I'm asking. You know, are you doing it out of nostalgia? Are you doing it just because you think it's a unique console and you think it's cool in retrospect, or how is it sliced for you? So let me know in the comments below. Of course, if you enjoyed this little rambling video, I know it was a little bit incoherent here, but just kind of all over the place, but I like talking about 3DS. It's always fun. Of course, but if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more 3DS, Wii U, Switch content. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at BoTalksMedia. Join my Discord. Link to that is down in the description below. And until next time, guys, bye-bye.